Don't know how that happened. Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's tuned in. Before we get started, or we're going to get started, I hope you're streaming in. And for those of you that are coming on, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes for everybody to kind of come on. If you can hit that tag button for me. I'm sorry, that share button, not tag button. Hit that share button for me. That will be great, because we want to share, and let everybody know that we're going live tonight. And as we talked about, this is the webinar on how to publish your book. We're going to take you tonight. We're going to just talk about the publishing process for you, so that you can be able to take your book from the inception of you having the vision of being able to write a book. You have this idea of how to write a book, but you're not sure how to go to all the way to somebody who says, I have a book out, but I need to get more exposure. I need to get more eyes on my book, or make more sales with it. So we're going to talk about all of those things and in between tonight. So I need you to hit the share button for me. If everybody can do that, I would greatly appreciate it. So we want to share it. And we're going to make sure that we get as many people on here as we can. So for those of you who are tuned in, hopefully you already know who I am, but I will introduce myself again. My name is Leroy McKenzie Jr., and I am the President, CEO of JNF Enterprises, which is a publishing and book publishing and business consulting firm here in Baltimore. And what we do is we provide book publishing services for those that are looking to either write a book, or those who already have a book written but are looking to gain more exposure. So that's kind of what we do. And then we offer business consulting for those individuals, for aspiring entrepreneurs, as well as entrepreneurs that already have a business but are looking to increase their market share. They're looking to do some more marketing, as well as brand themselves and their business that they have going on. So that's just a little bit about me and giving my background on what we're doing. But we're going to jump right in, because I don't want to take up too much time, because we don't have long. Trust me, this hour is going to go by really quickly. So we're going to talk about publishing in the 21st century. And I want everybody to understand that when you talk about publishing, there's actually two directions that you can actually go with this. When you talk about publishing, people sometimes want to go the mainstream way, which is where they actually go through a booking agent, a literary agent, and they try and get a book deal with a particular publishing, with a mainstream big publishing company, or they go that, which is the more traditional route, or those that that go the non-traditional route, which is actually now becoming traditional, which is self-publishing. And I don't call it self-publishing. I call it being an authorpreneur. And that's what it is. Hey, Carmen. It's being an authorpreneur, because as an authorpreneur, you are handling all aspects of your book, and you have to look at it if you choose that route, you have to look at that as being a business, your book as a business, and it actually is. And you'll see once we'll talk a little bit about this as well once we get into it, that your book is a part of your business, and you can use being an author to become an expert, to become a speaker, and use that as a means to be able to get more exposure, to be able to create more another stream of income for you. So that you can actually maximize yourself, as well as maximize your book as well. Because one thing that you'll learn, and that you'll hopefully find out, is that when you write your book, or when you have a book, you actually a couple of things: you get seen as an expert, and then and two, people tend to look at you as someone who actually knows more about that particular topic, and you actually should know about the topic that you're talking about. Good evening, Taliji. So you want to make sure that that you understand that, and then going through this process that we're going to be going through tonight, we're going to be talking about several things. We're going to be talking about, like I said, writing that book that's within you, but we're going to be talking about the writing process. We're going to be talking about the table of contents. We're going to be talking about completing your chapters, and then going to print. How to go to print, what is actually going to print, dealing with the printers, your marketing and branding you, and then giving you some resources that you can actually use that might be helpful to assist you in bringing your vision to reality, your book to reality. So we're going to start off actually with the just what I said, with the first tool. Giving you the first tool, and this is one. So if y'all can give me some hearts, let me know y'all there. I see some of y'all some are there. So I hope this will be beneficial and helpful for you. But the writing process and what that is, from the thought to the idea, and we'll start with those that may be aspiring authors. You say, I have a book. You have a book. I got a book in my head, but I'm not quite sure how to go about getting it from in my head down onto paper. And that's where you want to take the idea that you have, and you just want to begin to formulate what it is that you want to talk about. And I'll say that again. You want to formulate what it is that you want to talk about. What is the purpose of your book? And you can start by asking yourself that question. What is the purpose of you writing the book? What's the end result of you putting these thoughts on paper and giving out a message to someone? What is that to you? That's the first thing about the writing process that you have to understand. So you have this thought, you have this idea of writing a book. Ask yourself this question: why do I want to write this book? What is it going to give the person who reads it when they finish reading it? What is it going to give them? What are they going to come away with? You want to answer that question when you first start the thought. And even whether it's fiction or nonfiction, whatever genre it may be a part of, you still want to ask that question. Even those that write fiction books, you still want to come from the premises of what story are you trying to tell. Same thing with someone who does nonfiction. We ask ourselves, what story are we trying to tell? Because your book is telling a story. So you want to understand that your book is telling a story. So what is it that you want your book to say to someone who will eventually pick it up, read it, and take the information away from it? What is it what story do you want them to get from your book? So that's the first thing in understanding about your writing process, and sitting down and just thinking of these ideas. Is it something that, is it an idea that is going to teach somebody something? Is an idea that you just have these characters in your head that they come to life when you'll begin to start to put on paper. I'll give you an example for myself. When I first started writing, my books my first two books were books of poetry. And the poetry just came from me when I was in college and I was writing. I just took my thoughts. I had my thoughts that I put on paper, and they came out in the form of poetry. And it was something that I just did as a hobby at the time. I just wanted to get my thoughts out, wanted to be able to express myself in the different experiences that I was going through, that friends may have been going through, things that I've been seeing on TV. So that's where that came from. That thought came from. It was just a hobby with that. And then I had a book series that I've put together that focused on business, that was focused on building a company, building a 21st century company. And that came from being in corporate America and seeing how businesses were being run and how I thought that they should be run. So I wanted to come up with a concept, with something that would be able to assist those who were in corporate America, how to be able to understand about how to be more effective in running their business, leadership, and then also entrepreneurship. So those were things that ideas of what prompted me to be able to write my book. So what did I have to do? I had to begin, that was part of my writing process. But once I got into the particular book, I had to start and formulate what I wanted the book to look like. And how I was going to write the book, because what I want everybody to understand is that when you're writing a book, you want your book to have a certain flow. It should have a certain flow. It should have a certain order to it, because you don't want to be over here 1 minute, over there 1 minute, up this way, down this way, and take the reader all over the place, because it is or will be a distraction for them, and it'll deter them from reading your book. So the one of the first things, and once you've formulated the idea and you have that concept together and you start to put your book together, you want to make sure that you start with usually what I tell my authors to start with is the table of contents. So that's the first thing. Somebody can put that in there. Your first tool is of course the writing process, understanding the writing process. But then the first step in the writing process is the thinking part of it, the vision, what message that you want to have. But then the second step is to begin to put together your table of contents. Put together your table of contents. So that's going to be your step 2. Put together your table of contents. So your table of contents, this is where you begin to formulate, like I said, the order of your book, what you want to say, and the order that you want to say it. And that's important because, as I mentioned, you don't want to have your reader all over the place. You don't want to have your reader all over the place. I'll give you an example of that. I had one of my friends who was writing a book, and he he asked me to review his book. He asked me to read his book and tell me what I thought about it. And so I read it. And I was reading the manuscript, and I said, it's a great story. I said, I love it. I said, it's one that keeps you on the edge of your seat. I was like, I could see this being a movie. I said, but here's my suggestion to you, in regards to how your story should flow. And just to give you a little background about about the story, of the book, what the book was about. It was about these two brothers who were separated, who were actually separated at birth. They were separated at birth, and one was raised, here in the States, and then the other was raised overseas in Asia. So they come together because of the death of their father. Their father was actually murdered, killed. So they have to they come together for the funeral. The one brother, who is a special agent, ninja, comes to find out about, the murder, and finds out that his father was actually murdered. So he wants to find out, who murdered his father. So they wound up having to, of course, come together, for the funeral and for the reading and all of those things. But the way that my friend had the beginning of the book, there were the two main characters, which were these two guys. He began the story with the brother that was here in the States, then went over to the brother that was over in Asia. And then he had to bring the story back to the States for the funeral. So my suggestion to him was, well, man, the brother that was a special agent, ninja, and everything like that was such a grabbing thing in the beginning. I said, you should start with that, since he's already overseas, that you actually want to make sure that that you bring him back over. Why don't you bring the story from him, start it with him, because that'll grab the reader right away. And then you want to bring him back over to into the States, and then you can introduce the other brother in there and let the story flow from there. So he thought that idea was really good, and he did that, and when he read it, he was like, oh man, that really made a difference. I said, yeah. I said, because you grabbing the reader with the excitement of everything that you started off with the brother that was a ninja and a special agent. I said, and then you already started it over there, and then you bring everything here anyway. So it made a great difference. So your order of your book really matters. So you want to make sure that you have it in such an order, in such a way that, hey Bernice, oh my God, Miss Loma, oh man, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for tuning in, Bernice. But the sequential order of your book is vital to how you're able to keep your reader. So your table of contents gives you that structure to be able to do that. Your table of contents gives you how you want to break out your book, what you want to say, and then the order in which you want to say it. So in developing your table of contents, you can begin to just say, even if you just write down what the title of your chapters are to begin with, you definitely want to do that. You definitely want to do that. You definitely want to make sure that your table of you just write down the table of contents, or give your titles for your table of contents. So once you list your table of contents, then you can actually take your table of contents and you can break down your chapters. You can break down each chapter. Chapter 1 is going to be, this, and then you can break down that particular chapter, what you want to say in that chapter. Chapter 2 is going to be this, and you break down what you're going to talk about in that chapter. That way, your content becomes in a order. And even if you, when writing your content and how you want it to flow, you may go back through the editing process and switch things around. But the important thing is to get it written down first. You want to make sure that you get it written down. So you definitely want to make sure that you have your table of contents down. That's going to be your step, that second step in being able to get your in your writing and publishing process. So once you develop that table of contents, your table of content, then you can actually move into writing the content of your book, because that's where you're going to come. That's where that's going to come from. Once your content is together, and you've written out all of your chapters, you've put in the information that you want to cover in each of your chapters. And it's important that you understand or know what it is that you want to write about in each chapter. And break it down. Break it down. That's part of your writing, is just break down your chapters and what you want to say and how you want to say it. Whether it's, like I said, fiction or nonfiction, you still want to break those chapters down. If it's a nonfiction, if it's a fiction story, you want to break down what is it that you're trying to cover in that particular chapter. If it's a nonfiction book, what is it that you're trying to cover in this particular chapter? And you want to make sure that you're saying what it is that you want to say. So once all of the information is covered, and you actually have your table of contents, you've begun to write your manuscript. Or type your manuscript, type your manuscript, however way you're going to get it down, and you've gotten the manuscript written, you definitely want to make sure that you, once you get it done, you can actually start to go through it again. You can follow it back up to go through your content to make sure that it's the way that you want to have it. And I suggest that you get an editor. One of the most important people that you will have on your team is having an editor. You certainly, if it's the money that you will spend on having an editor is well worth it. I cannot stress that enough. Please, please, please do hire, take the money, put it aside, whatever you have to do to have an editor to be able to go over your content, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to give you not only a second set of eyes on your project, but they're going to go through it specifically for certain things. So you want to make sure that you that you have an editor that that goes through it. Your editor should go through it and check these following things. So if somebody can type this into the feed there, your editor should be able to go through it for grammar. The editor should go through it for the content. They should be able to go through it for the sequence, the order of your project, and then the message. So you want to make sure that your editor does those things for you. And even before you even hire an editor, you want to ask them, do you do these things? You know, what is it that you will cover for me? And they should be able to tell you that up front, what things that they're going to cover for the editing of your book, or you tell them what you want them to look for. And actually, they should do it without you having to tell them, because that should be something that should be discussed. So you want to make sure that that is a discussion that you all have. So. Because your editor is there to make sure that you are focused, that your book gives the message that it's supposed to give, and that it's in the order that it's supposed to be in, that it's grammatically correct, and also that it gets across the mission that you want it to accomplish. So and through your editor, you should go through at least a minimum of, I say, at least 5. You should have a minimum of 5 edits that you go through. Now, you want your editor to go through it, and one of the things that I do with my clients is I have them go through the editing as well, because I tell them that through the editing process, they're going to see things that they didn't see when they first wrote it, and even the first time that they went through it, the second time that they went through it. You're going to see something different every single time. Trust me, you're going to see something different every single time that you go through your project. It's going to be that. It's going to be that, because you'll see something, oh, I forgot something, or I wanted to say this and I didn't say that, or I said that, but I didn't really need to say that. So there's going to be this back and forth, not only between you and your editor, but there's going to be this back and forth between yourself, because you're going to see something new each time that you read your project. So you want to make sure that you do a minimum of 3 to 5 edits, I'm going to say. But it's more importantly when you go through, so that you get it the way that you want it to be, and that it's actually the message that you want to come across. And you have to, throughout that process, you want to be constantly asking yourself, you want to come from not only your being the writer perspective, but you actually want to come from the reader perspective. And what is this saying to the reader? What are you saying to the reader? What am I as a reader getting out of it? And you want to make sure that you're doing that through the whole process, because when you look at it from that point of view, it actually gives you a different perspective on the project. So of course, yes, you're going to come from it first from the writer's perspective, because you're writing it and you're trying to give off a message and a purpose to it. But then you have to come from the reader perspective and saying, what am I getting out of it? What did I gain from reading this book? What did I gain from reading what this author has to give? So those are the things that you do as a result of the table of contents. So here are 3 things. I'm gonna give you all 3 quick things with the table of contents that you wanna have. How long does your book need to be? Getting the best results, and then breaking down your table of contents. Now, we already talked about the breaking down of the table of contents, but one of the questions that I get sometimes from authors or those who are aspiring authors is, well, how long does my book have to be, or should it be? And there's no right or wrong answer with that. as far as how long your book should be. Your book should be as long as it takes for you to be able to convey your message. I'm going to say that again. It should take you it should be as long as it takes for you to convey your message. So you want to make sure that your book conveys your message. If that's 10 pages, if it's 15 pages, 20 pages, 30 pages, then that should be it. Because there are some small books that are very powerful in content. So you can have a small book, just make sure that it's powerful in content. Small book, but powerful in content. Because you could have a book that's 900 pages, but it's not powerful in its content, and it said a bunch of nothing. Now, I know for me personally, I'll just give you a personal experience. When I'm reading, and there are books that I read, one of the things that I do is I like books that kind of keep me, they keep me interested, keep me engaged, but two, that don't have long chapters. I'd rather have a book with 50 chapters or 60 chapters, and the chapters are 10 pages each, 10 to 15 pages each, than a book that is let's say 20 chapters, but the chapters are 30 pages, 40 pages long. I lose interest in that. So you can think about that when you are, when you're writing your chapters. Take into account, those things, and think about yourself when you're reading a book. What is it that you like to do? Which is it that may keep your interest or not? So that's the next thing when it comes to building the table of contents. And then the second thing is in getting your best results. You get your best results when you are transparent with your reader, when you actually take your reader inside your book where they can actually physically see. You give them a physical picture of what it is that you're talking about. They can actually see what it is that you're talking about, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, and specifically fiction. When you're a writer, a fiction writer, you really want to put the reader right there where you are. And that's how I can tell. Well, for me, I think that a writer is a great writer of a nonfiction book is when I see myself right there. I can picture in my mind what it is that they've written down on the paper. In nonfiction, the more transparent you are in what it is that you're writing, you want to make it relatable. You want to take it as my discipleship facilitator used to tell us, make it personal. When you make it personal and people can relate to it in that way, it makes it it makes it easier. You get better results out of that. People tend to take more to your work when you do it that way. So you want to make sure that for your table of contents and your chapters, for your table of contents, that you do the things that you need to do as far as to breaking down how long your chapters should be, getting the best results, and then breaking down your content that you're going to write about. So that's the tool. Tool number 3 with breaking down your table of contents. Tool number 4, completing your chapters. That's where we talked a little bit about your chapters and what it is that you want to say. So here are 3 things for completing your chapters that you want to do. Making your points. What points do you want to make in those particular chapters that we said? How do you say what you want to say? There's a difference between speaking and writing, and a lot of people don't understand the difference. Sometimes you can't speak how you can't write how you speak. There's an art to there's a structure to how we write and how we should write. And that's part of what your editor should help you to understand too, is in the writing. So don't get frustrated if your editor gives it back to you and says, I need you to say this, but say it in a different way. Don't get mad at them. Don't kind of hem and haw and fuss at them and say, well, I want to say this. There is a method to the madness, and you have to understand that there's a way to be able to say things. So you got to understand that. And then the third thing is, what order do you say what you want to say? Like I mentioned, there's a structure and there's an order to how you say things. You don't want to be all over the place with your writing, because it becomes a distraction. And one of the things that I had to learn personally, from writing my first nonfiction book, was just about the distractions that come to readers so easily, whether it's the font size, whether it's your whether it's the structure, the sequence in which you say things, or that you're writing things, because if you're all over the place, the reader won't be able to follow what it is that you're trying to say, so they won't get the message. They won't get that message, so they won't be able to understand and get what it is that you want to get out of it. So you want to eliminate the distractions. So if somebody can put that in there for me, eliminate the distractions from your writer. You definitely want to make sure that you do that, and you do that by the order in which you say what you want to say. And making sure it's in a clear, concise, sequential order. So that's vital in what you're doing. So you definitely want to make sure that you have that order, that you have that structure in that order with your table of contents and your chapters. So each of these things I'm giving you want to break them down, and you can actually write them. Write them separately, and then before you're getting ready to write or as you're writing your table of contents, and as you're putting together your book, you want to put these things, start to remember these things and work on these things. You say, okay, well, I have my table of contents, so I now need my chapters. What do I want to say in my chapters? What points am I trying to make? How do I say what I want to say? And then what order do I say what it is that I want to say? So those things are vital, and you can sit down and write those things out, so that you understand when you do go to write your, when you're in the midst of writing, you're putting your manuscript together, you have those points in your head already, and you're able to get them to come across. You're able to come across with them and be clear and succinct in the message that you're trying to come across. So, point number 1 was what? Was actually the writing, understanding the writing process, that there is a process to publishing and writing. Don't get frustrated. It's a process, y'all. It is a process. Now, the process in writing a book, people say, well, how long should it take you to write a book? Or how long can it take you to write a book? There are folks that write a book in 30 days, less than 30 days. There's folks that take years to write a book. I know for me, it can sometimes, depending on what I'm trying to write, and the timing, it can take some time. So you want to make sure that you understand that it is a process, and these are just part of the process that I'm giving you, the process of publishing, the process of writing. So you want to understand that. So the next tool that we're going to talk about, you've got your book, you put the book all together, you've had the editor go through it, they've gone through it for the editing of it. Once you've gone through the editing and you've gotten the editing together, you want to make sure that, and you can do this while you're in the editing process, or even before, if you have the idea already, or just during. I'm going to say before you finish, before you actually finish the manuscript, you want to have the book cover in mind. So the second team member that you want to have a graphic designer, because your graphic designer is going to be the one to give you your book cover, and any kind of content that you may have on the inside that you might want to put in there. A book cover, and if you have a children's book or something that needs illustration, you're going to need an illustrator. So your book cover is definitely something that you want to work with while you actually are in the process. You definitely want to have your graphic designer working on your your book cover. And the book cover is important too, because you want to make sure that within your book cover gives an idea of what your content is about. You know, you don't want to have a book cover that is just totally way off from what your book is going to be about. So you want to make sure that your graphic designer knows what your vision is as far as the book, and then what the message that you're trying to convey with your book cover. So that's very, very, very important. And one of the things when I deal with my my graphic designer, who is just totally awesome, totally awesome. And I have a couple, but the main one that I use is New Vision Graphic Designs, and they are just really awesome with doing my book covers and book covers for my authors, because I give them the concept. I give them what the book is about, the content, let them know what the book is about. And I say, can you give me 3 looks? 3 looks that we can kind of work with. And I lie to you all not. Every single time he's been spot on. Rodney Franklin, New Vision Graphics. If you don't have a graphic designer, you need one. He is awesome with book graphic design and other things as well. But you want to make sure that you have that. The New Vision Graphic Design. You want to have a graphic designer. Ask them to give you 3 looks. That way you get 3 different ideals from you, so that you can look at it, so that you can have 3 different versions, and you can kind of go from there. If and one of those 3 should be something that you like, and if not, then you go on from there. But at least you have an idea that you can start with. So I usually ask for 3 different designs. So you want to make sure that your cover design, that your book cover is a part of that, your table of content, and matches what it is that your content is going to be. So that's important with that. So once you've got your book together, you've put it together, you've got your cover, you got your book cover, you got your manuscript, you've had your editor go through your manuscript, and they've put it into the book form. You want to make sure that you put it into the book form. Decide on the book size that you want to have. And the traditional book size is 6 by 9 or 6.5 by 9.5. That's the traditional book size of a book. So you want to make sure, it doesn't have to be, it can be larger or smaller than that. Printers are, which we're going to be talking about in a second. The printers can do it any size that you want, but depending on the size of the book, may affect the cost of the book. So, but if it's the traditional size, and you don't have to worry about anything, that's actually what they actually deal with. I mean, it doesn't have to be shaped, or it doesn't have to be cut down smaller, it doesn't have to be made bigger or anything. So you want to make sure that you understand that decide on what size you want your book to be. So that's a part of it. So you have to get all of that. And I'm not going to be able to go through everything tonight anyway. So I'm just kind of skating over just a few things that you'll be able to do in the writing process. And this is all of putting the book together, the manuscript together. Once you've gotten the manuscript together, once you've taken the time to get the table of contents, putting the chapters together, getting the editor once you've finished the project, and then putting the whole project together, having the book cover, making sure that you have all of the contents that you need for the book. And that includes the ISBN number. And I'm not going to talk about that much tonight, but the ISBN number is just your number that allows you to be able to sell your book anywhere, in bookstores, online, everywhere. You cannot sell your book without the ISBN number, period. Or I should say in a bookstore or online or anything. It has to be. Now, you can sell it by yourself without it having an ISBN number, but in order for it to be in a bookstore, in order for it to be on Amazon or any other, on your website, any other place, you have to have that ISBN number. And that, because that's crucial. That's what records, that's what gives you the recording or the ability to be able to sell it. everywhere, and so that for your own records and everything like that, you must have an ISBN number. I would not tell anyone to produce a book without having an ISBN number. That's a must-have. That's a must-have. So, step 1 is your vision. Know the writing process. 2 is developing your table of content. 3 was your breaking out your chapters. And we talked a little bit about the having the book cover within there. And then 4 is going to print. So you've got your book. It's all together. You got the manuscript together. It's in the print form. And let me say that again. You want to have your book in the print form. That means the size, you've had it formatted to the size that you want it to be in. It's formatted into the size that it needs to be, that it's going to be printed in. And you want to make sure that, because when you send it to the printer, you will have to pay extra if they have to put it in any kind of, if you have to do any kind of configuring or maneuvering of the book. So you definitely want to make sure of that. So you want to make sure, definitely want to make sure that. Now, thanks for the question, Ann, and I'm going to answer that. The difference between getting an ISBN number from a self-publishing company and one you purchase from the ISBN. Now, here's the difference. The difference is someone that purchases, you can purchase ISBN numbers individually, or you can purchase them in groups of 10, 100, like that, or even, I think even up to 1,000. As far as the ISBN numbers, you can buy a group of ISBN numbers. Now, understand this, that if you're buying from a self-published or publishing company, you're actually going to be under their publishing company because they're registered as a publisher. So they're going to be your publisher. They're going to be the publisher of that's connected to that ISBN number. As opposed to if you purchase it by yourself or individually, then you will be the author or the publisher behind that ISBN that's associated with that ISBN number. So that's the difference. So understand that. So if you do go with a publishing company and you buy it from someone else, they've already bought the ISBN number, so it's already connected to them. As opposed to if you just go on to the Boca.com website and you buy the ISBN number yourself, then it's totally connected to you. So there is a difference in that. So you want to make sure that you understand that and that you know the difference with that, with the ISBN number. So somebody that already has purchased them versus you who you're going to purchase it by yourself individually. And if it's a publishing company, then they can take care of that for you, where they already have the ISBN number. But understand that publisher, they've already have the publishing company. They're already registered as the publishing company. So you would be the author and not just and not the publisher. They would be the publisher. You would be the author. As opposed to if you buy it individually, then you are the publisher and the author. So that's the difference in that. So I hope that explains that, and give me a thumbs up or let me know that that's okay. So when you go to the printer, you want to make sure that your book is already formatted and it's what we call ready to go to print. And that's what your editor should be. They actually should be saying to you, or your editor should say to you, this is ready to go to print. That should be the last thing. Once you've done the edits, once you've got it formatted, you should now say, is my book ready to go to print? Because when you're ready to go to print, that means the only thing that you're doing is sending your file over to your printer. Now there's plenty of printers out here that you can print your work. Now your publishing company, if you're publishing through someone else, they should more than likely have a couple of printers that they use or can refer you to or recommend for you, or you can yourself, you can look up several. You can look up printers that you might want to go with or go through and everything as well to do your home. If you do your homework to find out or get referrals from someone. There's tons and tons of authors that are out here that can tell you a number of printers that you can go with and their experiences with dealing with different printers. So it's all going to depend on you as an individual, whether it's the publishing like we talked about and the printers. Get stories, get people's experiences. Now, you don't necessarily have to go and not go with someone based on the experiences, but at least you get the referrals. It's just like anything else. You get a referral, you do your own homework, your due diligence on the particular printer, and you find out what it is that they can and can't do for you. I know for me personally, give you this story real quick. When I had one of my books that I was going through a local printer, and I love him for this. And it's a local printer, black owned printer that I went to, Black Classic Press, and I'm gonna shout them out. If y'all need a printing company, Black Classic Press is excellent. Excellent, 5-star. They are a great printing company. When I first went to them, when I was printing one of my first books with them, didn't know anything about printing and all those things. And I had this vision of how I wanted my book to look with them. And I had it where I needed to have a color at the beginning of each chapter. I was going to have the picture of the individual entrepreneur that I was profiling, because I did a book on entrepreneurs, and I had 21 entrepreneurs that I was profiling, and I wanted to have their pictures at the beginning. So what I did, I wanted to have their pictures at the beginning of each chapter, but what I hadn't realized and did not know, and I didn't know what I didn't know, but when I went to the printer and I told them what I was trying to do, I found out that it was going to cost a whole lot because of the type of paper that you need, color paper when you have a color picture versus a regular text paper. There's a big difference. So for you all that don't know already, there's a big difference between paper that is just for regular text, and then there's a difference between paper that is used for color. Just like with your printer, there's different paper that you use for color printing versus regular printing with your black and white. So it was going to cost me a ton of money in order to be able to do what I wanted to do. So what the printer suggested to me, Mr. Coates, he said, here's what we can do. And mind you, he didn't have to do this. He suggested to me about, instead of putting the authors, the picture of the entrepreneurs at the beginning of the chapter, we could put them at the back of the chapter, at the end of the book, and we could use just 2 pages, and their names and pictures would correspond, of course, to the chapters, and we had to do it that way. So I said, okay. I said, I can do that. So I wound up, instead of needing 20 pages of color, or actually really, 40 pages of color, because the front and back is each individual pages. So I wound up just needing 2. There's a big difference in that, and it was a big difference. And when I saw the amount that it cost versus the other one, I was like, oh, wow. So there's a difference. You have to understand that there's a difference in all of that, in printing color versus printing in regular, just black and white. So you got to understand that and the difference. So that was something that I learned from him, and he didn't have to do it. And as a printer, it helped me to understand, because I didn't know. He could have just easily taken all my money, told me that, told me what it was going to cost, and just left it at that. Exactly. Yes, and most folks don't know that. They really don't realize that the front and the back is a page each. When it comes to printing, those are individual pages. Please understand that. Yes, they count as 1 page each. Just like if you were to read a book and you see page 1, you turn on the back, that's page 2. That's exactly how the printers read it. And they charge you per page. That's what I want to stress real quick. When it comes to printing, the printing cost, how they determine printing cost. Printing cost is determined in a couple of different ways. They're determined, somebody can type this in for me. They're determined by your page count, the number of pages that you had, which is what Ann just said, the front and back equal a page. The front and back the front and back equal 2 pages. The front of it is 1 page, the back of it is another page. So each individual page, those count, they charge you by the page count, the quantity of the books the number of pages that you have, the number of books that you're ordering, and by the size of your book. So those are 3 things that when you go to the printer, understand that they're pretty much going to really ask you that for. They're going to want to know the page count. They're going to want to know the quantity that you're ordering, and then they're going to want to know the size that you're having, because those will affect your cost. And you want to make sure that you get a quote as well. And most printers should give you a quote for what it's going to cost you, so that you can see it'll give you that background. That has to be a part of what they send back to you. What they'll give you the breakdown for you. So you want to make sure that you know those things. You want to know your page count, you want to know the quantity, and that you want to know the size of your book. And usually what I tell my authors is to keep a par of 50. You should always keep a par of 50. Keep a 50 books on hand. That way, anything that anytime that you have an event or something like that, you always have 50 books on hand, so that you can take with you anywhere, or that you have with you anywhere that you go. And that way you always have books on hand. So, and what I mean by a par of 50, that means once you get to 50, once you get below 50, you want to make sure that you keep at least 50 books. At 50. So if you get down to 30 books, you want to make sure that you order a minimum. You want to get back up to a par of 50. Now, some printing companies have a minimum amount of how many books that that they will print. So you got to ask that information as well. So you want to make sure that you know, is there a minimum? Ask them, is there a minimum? For minimum number of books that you have to order. And that usually comes along with most material, whether it's shirts, whether it's anything. There may be a minimum that that printers will give to you or tell you that that you have to order with them. And that's okay. You just have to know what that amount is, so that okay, I know I have to order at least 20 books. I have to know I have to order at least 50 books with this particular printer. So it's going to depend, but you want to ask those questions when you're looking for a printer. Is there a minimum? And then kind of what they'll break down their costs. And like I said, they should break down their costs for the number of pages, the quantity of books that you're ordering, and then the size of your book. So those are a couple of things that you want to take in mind when it comes to your printer. So once you've gotten that from your printer, or once you've decided on your printer, you definitely want to make sure that what you send over to them is print ready, so that pretty much all they have to do is take the file, you download the file to them, send them the tools, send them the printing, send them the file for the printing. They'll put it together, nice, pretty, and together, and then you'll get it back, and it should look like this. I remember I was so excited when I got my first book back. When I got my first book back and I saw it in the print form, I was just like so humbled by it. And it was just a very impactful moment for me, because I couldn't believe that I put together my thoughts, put them into the form of a book, and now that will forever be something that's out there, that will last far beyond me. And beyond me. So it's an honor experience when you get that book back from your printer, and you're ready to go to sell your book. And we haven't even gotten into that, and I only got a couple minutes left. So, what do you do once you have the book in hand? Because that's when the work really starts. This, putting it here, was just the kind of the prelude. Now that you've got the book, Now that you've got the book, what do? How do you get it out there so that people will know that it's out there? So, you have to understand that the writing process, getting it ready, getting it to the printer is a process itself. But then you start a whole new process when it comes to actually, now I've written a book, which is the last thing, which is the marketing. Now I got a book. Now what? And I have to be able to tell people I have it. What do I do with it? So the marketing aspect of it, the branding aspect of it, there's tons of ways. There's many ways that you can go about it. Those that use the mainstream, they will have a publisher. They'll have certain bookstores and online connect distribution centers that they have that you can go on. But you can actually do that as well as an authorpreneur, because you can set up your own Amazon. You can set up your own website. Understand that with Amazon, and I tell people, you have to weigh the cost of having your book on Amazon along with having your own website. I say that there's nothing wrong with having having it on Amazon. You want to have it there, but to me, it's more important that you have your own website to send people to be able to buy your book, because you can actually have other products and services that you offer on your website, as opposed to with Amazon, who also takes 60% of the sales of the sales that you have on Amazon. That's what they do. So they get 60, you get 40. So you have to weigh that. Is it worth it? Do I want to, does it make sense to push them versus having my own website? So you have to ask yourself that question. And I put it to the authors that way. Yes, it's great to have it on Amazon, say that you're Amazon bestseller. But also you want to have it where you can direct people to your website. And that's major part of your marketing, is to have a website. Develop a website. Another thing, before you make sure your book cover has over 3,000 pixels to ensure good quality. And you just brought up something really that I didn't say about. Yes, absolutely. With your book cover, you want to make sure that it is 300 DPIs. I want to make sure I get that right. DPIs. Anything, any picture, anything that you have on your cover, it has to be, the resolution has to be 300 or more. 300 DPIs. I can't say that enough. I've had to learn the hard way about that. 300 DPI. Please, yes, make sure that any book cover that you do, and your graphic designer should know that. But you want to just make sure you ask them that question. This is 300 resolution, right? You want to make sure that they have that resolution embedded in whatever design that they do. That is 300, because the resolution won't be enough, and your printer will let you know that if it's not. So you definitely want to do that. So part of your, part of the putting the book together, you want to make sure that you have that together. And then even with your marketing material and everything like that, you want to make sure that the clarity and everything like that you do with your flyers and all of that, with your book, your website, that you have the pixels like Ann talked about, the DPIs, which is nothing more than the resolution and the clarity of it. You want to make sure that that your material is put together in such a way that it's clear. It doesn't have any. It's in such a way where it can be used in multiple areas and doing multiple things. So that's very important. So in marketing, with your website, you want to have your website. You want to have your social media. Pages. You definitely want to use them. I cannot stress that enough, is use this social media as a marketing tool. It must be used as a marketing tool. That's your website, that's your Facebook page, your Instagram page, your Instagram, your Twitter. All of those are marketing tools that you must use, not only to be able to let people know about your book, but let them know about where you're going to be as far as book signings. If you're doing speaking engagements, and we didn't even get into the speaking engagements, as far as how you can use your book as a tool to speak. And maybe we'll do another session and we'll talk about that. But using your using your book as a tool to be able to speak. And I hope I saw Brian on here from the Black Speakers Network, because they stress about using your book as a tool, as a tool to be able to be a speaker, and it adds an additional income for you. So you definitely want to make sure that you have that, because it will give you and take you into platforms that you could not even dream of. So I'm going to wrap up real quick. If you have any questions, because I'm going a little over, if you have any questions, pop them in to the into the feed there, and I will certainly answer them. Probably right now, but I will go back and I'll be able to answer them. But you want to make sure, just to kind of sum up everything that we talked about. I just gave you 6 tools tonight, but we can definitely talk more, because there's so much more that we needed to cover. But tool number one was to understand the writing process. What's your vision of your book? What's the vision of your book? What message are you trying to give with your book? Number 2 is your table of contents. Developing your table of contents, putting your book together. That is your blueprint for putting your manuscript together, your table of contents. Number 4 is your your chapters. How do you break down each individual chapter? What is it that you want to say in each individual chapter? Breaking that down. Once you've gotten your chapters together, you've broken down your chapters, you want to make sure that each chapter is conveying what it is that you want to say. And then next is going to print. Number 5 is going to print. You want to make sure that you understand that you have your book in the printing format. It should be ready for print. That term, ready for print, you want to make sure that you have your book is ready for print. That means it's formatted into the size that it's supposed to be in. You have all of your information that you want to have in it. You want to make sure that it's been edited at least 5 different times. Through the editing, and that way you get all of your questions in and out of it. You can take in, put in, take out, all of those things. Going to print, making sure that you have a printer that will actually show you what their printing process is. One of the things that Mr. Coates did over at Black Classic Press was he actually took me in the back and showed me the printing machines. He showed me the printing machines, their whole printing process. He walked me through that. So now I understand what it is that my printer does. And people have this misconception that the book is just all of a sudden going to appear in this format. No, it takes a process to put that book in that form. They've got to lay it all out. They've got to have the right kind of paper. There's a whole process to that. So printing should take, and here's one of my suggestions, understand that it should take, most printers, you should be able to get your book back within 5 to 7, I say 10 to 14 business days. If they can do it sooner than that, that's great, but your grace period is usually 10 to 14 business days. So whenever you're thinking about a project, you're thinking about an event that you have, and you're thinking about ordering your books or making sure that you have enough books, that you got to order books, you want to make sure that you have your books in hand, at least that you have your books in hand at least 2 weeks before your event, and which means you have to order your books at least another 2 weeks before then. So you're talking at least a month out before your event. You want to make sure that you're placing your order for your book. That way the book actually will be to you. You can make sure that there aren't any unforeseen circumstances, because the printer could be busy. They have a particular other projects that they're working on. Understand that you're not the only author, publisher that they're dealing with. They're dealing with plenty other publishers and plenty other clients that they have too. So you want to make sure you give yourself enough time for that, and understand, like I said, everything is a process. You want to make sure that that you give yourself enough time to be able to have your books in hand before your event. And you don't want to be sweating like I've done a couple times, making sure that your book gets to you in enough time, and you sitting there, oh, is it going to get here? Is it going to get here? So you want to definitely make sure that you allow yourself enough time. Like I said, you want to allow yourself enough time, but then also you want to make sure that you have enough books. There's nothing kind of worse than being at an event and you don't have enough books to be able to cover that event that you're at, and you have to tell people, well, I ran out of books, but you can go and order it. Because yeah, they can, and some may, but a lot may not. So you just want to make sure that you have, that you have enough books on hand, and you don't want to get caught not having enough books. So that way you make sure you have enough books, because it's always better to have more than not enough, because you can always keep selling the books. You can always have them, you can always keep selling them, or save them for the next event if you want to. So, but you want to make sure that you have enough books for the event that you're going to be at. So, and then the last thing, once you've finished being at the printer, you've gotten your book back from the printer, everything is good, the books look good, you're ready. You are ready. You got the books in hand. Hello, I got my books. They're here. Do your book sign. You can do a book signing. A lot of people do. You want to set up a book signing. You want to have all of that together. And even your marketing part, you want to start to market your book at least 30 to 60 days when you know that the book is getting ready to go to print. I usually try and wait till I know I'm going to print to start marketing about the book coming out. You can kind of use a prelude to kind of let people know that it's coming. And then you can also use that to pre-order. Pre-orders are something that help you to be able to defray the cost in the beginning if you're going to be an authorpreneur, to be able to offset that cost of the printing of the books if you do the pre-orders. So part of your marketing can be the pre-order campaign that you do in order to be able to sell your books. They can pre-order it, have your web, make sure that you have your website set up, or you want to make sure that you have your website set up when you do that, because you got to have a place for people to be able to go and place the pre-orders. So, and once your cover is done, then you can use that as the marketing material, part of your marketing material and everything like that. So you definitely want to do that. So you definitely want to do that. And also part of your marketing, you actually want to incorporate, the giving, you're going to have to give away some books, and you're going to have to, donate some books. Understand, and what I suggest to authors, with this, when it comes to donating or giving away books, you have to understand that that's part of that process. That's part of the being able to market, because I can have a book, and if I give it to strategic people, then it would help me to be able to get into either certain markets that I wouldn't have been able to. It can give you certain exposure that you would not ordinarily have. And here's the thing: if you donate or give away a book, my suggestion too is to also have those that you donate or that you give away a book to do a testimonial for you. Whether it's a video testimonial or whether it's a written testimonial for you about your book. Because if you're going to give it away, you want to make sure that you're getting something in return for it, from that. And part of that, and they shouldn't have a problem, and no one should have a problem with doing a testimonial for you. They give people testimonial about, what the book did for them, or how the book was encouraging to them, inspiring to them, or how it was a great read. And it took you on this, this roller coaster ride, and had you laughing and crying and all of those things, and mad, and all of those, evoke certain emotions. So you want to make sure that when you donate and that you give away your books, that you're doing it for a good cause, and you're doing it, and that you do it in such a way that you also get those individuals to be able to give you a testimonial, in some kind of way, back from it. So that you can use that as part of your marketing piece. Because if let's say if it's a company that you're trying to be, that's a company that you donate a book to, You can use them as a, as a testimonial for you to say, this particular company has purchased my book. You can use that to be able to get into certain, like I said, speaking engagements. You can also, for a fiction writer, you can say, you can use the testimonials to be able to tell, people how, how people can see how good your book is, so that they know kind of what they're reading, what they may be reading. And that, trust me, that helps you in such a tremendous way. So it's well worth it when you do strategically donate, when you do strategically give your books away. Now, you don't want to just do it all willy-nilly, and everybody, because you're going to have a lot of people that may try and get free books from you, but you want to just make sure that, that you understand that you are going to have to donate some books. You may have to donate some books. You may have to give away some books, in order to be able to gain more sales. Because if I give away 1 to sell 5, that's worth it. If I give away 2 in order to be able to sell 10, 15, 20, that's worth it. Because it may give you access to more people. So you have to understand that. So that's part of your marketing that you want to incorporate into your marketing, when it comes to your book. Not only, like I said, the social media, I can't stress that enough about, letting people, using social media as a key component to your marketing, and letting people know, because not even 5 years ago, we didn't even have this means to be able to do it. Facebook Live, to be able to talk about things. Now you can get on Facebook Live and you can reach thousands and millions of people, to tell them about your book. So that in and of itself is a marketing tool. So you definitely want to do the marketing and understand that marketing and also the other piece of that is branding. Marketing and branding. They're two different things, but you want to understand that they are important to have and to do. So your branding is about you, is about your message, and is about your company. If you are, if you have a business that your writing comes from. So you want to make sure that not only that you brand yourself, but you brand your particular style of writing. Because you're going to be known, just like certain musical artists are known for their type of music, you're going to do the same thing as an author. Same way certain actors are known for certain types of roles, same thing as an author. You're going to market yourself in a certain way, and that comes to putting a marketing plan together, and that's vital as well. Making sure that you have a marketing plan. Marketing plan and branding strategy are two must with you as an author. 3, well, actually, I'm going to add another one to that. Marketing plan, branding strategy, and a press kit. I'm going to say that again. Somebody, and if one of y'all can type that in there, you must have, when it comes to writing, when it comes to publishing, you must have a marketing plan, you must have a branding strategy, and you must have a press kit. Within your press kit should be your bio. I would say bio by itself, and if you want to do a bio by itself, then that's fine. But you certainly need to have a press kit. Because your press kit is going to give whoever you're submitting your work to, and that's for writers. I mean, that's for whether it's talk shows, whether it's radio shows, whether it's TV shows that you're going to be on. It sends them the information about you and about your projects that you've done. And that's all incorporated in your press kit. That's part of your marketing, is your press kit. Because it gives people information on you and your particular book. Because there should be an overview in your press kit. There should be along with your contact information, your contact information, your social media sites. All of that information needs to be a part of your press kit, and that goes into your marketing plan. So you want to have those things set up. And as now if you go with a publisher, then those should be part of the services that they offer to you in their package. If you're doing it yourself, then that is something that that you will have to put together yourself, and you have to kind of either talk with someone to understand what's needed, and you can you can do it individually, or you may have to invest in that cost of having someone who can develop the your marketing plan, your branding strategy, all of those things, and put it together for you. So you want to make sure, you want to make sure that you have those components. Like I said, you want to make sure that you have your marketing plan, your branding strategy, and your press kit. Those are as far as when it comes to the marketing piece. You definitely want to make sure of that. Anne says, Kimberly, most publishing companies will publish any type of book. However, there are some who are focused on specific genres. CreateSpace is one that will publish all types. That's true, Anne. They will. CreateSpace, and you do have publishing companies that will that are only looking for certain types of books. It's just like certain movie studios, certain record labels. They're looking for specific kinds of books. So if you don't fit into that, into their piece and who they're marketing to, because as a publisher, you have to know who your target market is. And you as the writer have to understand who your target market is. So if you understand your target market, then you can know who you need to submit your work to, if you're going to go the mainstream way and submit to a publisher, or even if you're going to go to a smaller publishing company, because you don't necessarily have to do the major publishing companies. You can go with a smaller publishing company, in addition to CreateSpace, or what's the other? I think Author House is another one. I'm not too familiar with all of the names of the other smaller publishing companies. So you want to make sure that your particular book fits into what it is that they're publishing, and that goes into doing your homework and doing your due diligence. So you want to make sure that you have that an understanding of that, and that goes back to the tool number one, which is your understanding the process and your vision. And when you sit down and you start to think about the book that you want to write, who are the folks that I'm targeting when I am writing this particular book? And that will assist you in being able to understand if you're going through a publishing company, what publishers you need to go with, and because you can look up the information, try and find out who it is what type of books that they actually have published before, and you know whether or not that they're a good fit for you. So you do it that way. Yes, Kimberly. Yes, you do, Miss motivating speaker. And one of the things that I look for, and I'll give you, because I do have my own publishing company, JNF Enterprises is a book publishing company. The criteria that I have for my authors is this: three things. It must enlighten, it must empower, and it must impact. It must have those three elements to it. When it comes to your project, it must teach you something, it must equip you with something, and then it must impact you to do something. So those are the elements that I look for in the projects that I authors that I take on, even if it's fiction. What's the message behind the book that they're writing? Does it, is it something that is really going to teach you something? Because I have a couple of children's book authors that, the books that they've written are just so, they're so phenomenal, because it was more than just having a children's book. It was something that can be incorporated into people's everyday lives that they do. I mean, and I can't express that enough that, you know, when we do these projects, you should really think about those things. Take the time to think about that. What kind of message that you want to send? Does it enlighten people? Does it teach people something? Does it equip them with something? Does it, you know, are they going to be able to be impacted? And I look at it, when I say impact, I mean, are they going to be better after they read your project than they were before they read your project? And if the answer is yes for that, then you're spot on. You're spot on with what you're doing. And everybody doesn't have that aspect of it, of writing. So and that's cool. That's cool. Those aren't the projects for JNF Enterprises. And that's where you get people who will, you know, they can, that's why you have many means to be able to, you know, to be able to go out and to be able to publish and everything like that. So those things. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Like I said, if you all have any questions, please, post them in the comment section there. Please share this. I'm gonna say it again. Share. Please. I love it when you share. So you want to make sure that you can't just keep it to yourself. If this information has been beneficial for you, give me some hearts. Give me some thumbs up. Pass this on so that others can get this information and they can use it. Hopefully the tools that I gave you tonight will help you and assist you in being able to write the book that you have inside of you, or if the book is already written that's inside of you, that will assist you in saying, you know what, wow, I can go to the next level with my book. And whatever that next level is for you, whether it's speaking, whether it's putting it into a different space that you wouldn't ordinarily have been in, taking it and moving it there, all of those things. So you want to make sure hopefully that these tools will assist you in being able to do that, because my mission this year, on a mission 2018, is to make you better by the end of 2018 than you are here at the beginning of 2018. And this is one of those projects, one of those things that I'm doing that hopefully does that with individuals, because Jacqueline Carr, who is a phenomenal actually singer, 21-year-old young lady, she has a song called You Will Win. And she says in that song, everything attached to me wins. And that's how I want it to be, and why I do projects like this, because I want everyone that's attached to me, everyone that may watch this, to win. And as an author, I want you to be able to win. I want you to be able to be as successful as you should be, can be, and will be with your projects. And that's the only way that you can do that, is if you're informed if you're equipped with the information that you need, in order to be able to be successful. So like I said, you can put your questions that you have in there, in the comment section there for me. I'll go through. I'll answer. Watch the replay. Please go in. If you have any questions, you can do the same. Please be sure to share it. Let people know. Let people know about it so that they can get informed as well. Katera, thank you. Hopefully that will help you with your story. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to connect with me. My website, just to give everybody that before I go, is www.jnfenterprises.com. That's www.j as in Jesus, N as in never, F as in fail, JNFenterprises.com. I'm on Facebook under JNF Enterprises, Instagram at JNF Enterprises, Twitter at JNF Enterprises 1. So hopefully this has been beneficial for you. I look forward to doing this again, and I want to give a shout out and thank you so much for allowing me this platform to be able to do this. The businessmen and women of color. Thank you for allowing me to be able to come into the group to be able to talk about the publishing process. Hopefully this has been something that has been beneficial, and for those other groups that will hopefully be able to see this as well. This is Leroy McKenzie Jr. Y'all know, I don't know if y'all can see that or not, Be unstoppable. I got my shirt on today. Y'all know I had to bring that in. Y'all know I had to put my be unstoppable because that's what it's about. We are unstoppable. You're gonna have the writer's block. You're gonna have all of those obstacles that may come, but you want to make sure that you have the mindset, because this isn't, be unstoppable isn't just a hashtag. It's a lifestyle. It's a mindset. So be unstoppable. Y'all take care. We'll see you all next time. Be good to yourself. Leroy Black CEO out.